Don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to stay updated with our latest. It was just past midnight, the kind of hour where the world feels suspended in a quiet, fragile stillness. I was nestled on my plush leather sofa in my cozy apartment overlooking the city skyline, the faint hum of traffic far below blending with the soft patter of rain against the windows. A steaming mug of lavender tea sat on the glass coffee table, its warmth seeping into my palms as I clutched it, my eyes lazily scanning the pages of a worn romance novel I'd read countless times. The amber glow of a single lamp bathed the room in a warm, intimate light, casting long shadows across the hardwood floor. At 45, I'd grown accustomed to these solitary nights. My life, a carefully curated routine of work, books, and the occasional glass of wine. After my divorce 5 years ago, I'd convinced myself that love, passion, all of that was a chapter I'd closed for good. But that night, everything I thought I knew about myself was about to unravel. A soft knock at the door jolted me from my reverie, so faint I almost dismissed it as a trick of the wind. My heart gave a curious thud, a flicker of unease stirring in my chest. Who could it be at this hour? I set the mug down, the ceramic clinking softly against the glass, and padded barefoot across the cool floor, my silk robe brushing against my thighs with each step. The clock on the wall read 12:15 a.m., its ticking suddenly louder in the stillness. The knock came again, more insistent this time, a hesitant rhythm that sent a shiver down my spine. I hesitated, my fingers hovering over the doorknob, my mind racing with possibilities. A neighbor in need? A lost delivery? Or something more unexpected? When I opened the door, the dim hallway light revealed a figure I hadn't expected. Marcus, my neighbor from across the hall. At 38, Marcus was a man who carried an effortless charm, tall and lean, with tousled dark hair that always seemed to fall just so, and deep green eyes that held a quiet intensity. He was usually impeccably dressed, his button-down shirts and tailored jeans a testament to his meticulous nature, but tonight he looked undone. His white shirt was slightly wrinkled, the top button undone to reveal a glimpse of his collarbone, and his hair was mussed as if he'd run his hands through it one too many times. His eyes, though, were what caught me, stormy, raw, and brimming with an emotion I couldn't quite place. "Evelyn," he breathed, my name slipping from his lips like a confession, his voice low and rough, sending an unexpected jolt through me. "I'm so sorry to bother you this late. I didn't know where else to go." His gaze darted to the floor, his broad shoulders tense, and I noticed the way his fingers fidgeted with the hem of his sleeve, a nervous habit I'd never seen in him before. Marcus and I had always been friendly. Casual chats in the hallway, a shared laugh over the building's finicky elevator, but nothing more. Yet here he was, standing at my door in the dead of night, looking like a man on the edge of something he couldn't control. I blinked, my pulse quickening as I stepped aside, the cool air from the hallway brushing against my bare legs. "It's okay, Marcus. Come in," I said, my voice softer than I intended, laced with a concern I couldn't hide. "What's going on?" He hesitated, his eyes flicking up to meet mine for a fleeting moment, and I caught a glimpse of something, desire, maybe, or desperation, that made my breath catch. He stepped inside, his movements slow, deliberate, as if he were stepping into uncharted territory. The door clicked shut behind him, the sound echoing in the quiet space, and suddenly the room felt smaller, the air thicker with an unspoken tension. The lamplight cast a golden glow over his features as he stood in the middle of my living room, his presence filling the space in a way I hadn't anticipated. I motioned for him to sit, and we settled on the sofa, the leather creaking softly beneath us. I tucked my legs beneath me, my robe slipping slightly to reveal the curve of my thigh, and I noticed the way his gaze lingered there for a moment, before he quickly looked away, his jaw tightening. I've been having a rough time," he started, his voice low, almost a growl, as he ran a hand through his hair, the motion drawing my attention to the flex of his forearm. "Things have been complicated. I didn't know who else to turn to." I nodded, my heart thudding against my ribs as I tried to read the storm in his eyes. "You can talk to me, Marcus," I said, my voice steady despite the nervous flutter in my stomach. "Whatever it is, I'm here." He exhaled deeply, a shaky breath that seemed to carry the weight of 1,000 unspoken words, and leaned forward, his elbows resting on his knees, his hands clasped tightly together. The air between us crackled with a quiet electricity, and I felt a heat rising in my chest, a pull I couldn't quite name. "I didn't know how to say this," he began, his voice barely above a whisper, each word heavy with emotion. "I've been struggling with something I've never told anyone." His fingers twitched, his knuckles whitening as he gripped his hands tighter, and I could see the battle raging within him, the vulnerability he was fighting to reveal. "I've been dealing with feelings I can't ignore anymore, Evelyn. Feelings that involve you." The words hit me like a tidal wave, stealing the air from my lungs. My heart slammed against my chest, a wild, unsteady rhythm, and I felt a flush creeping up my neck, my skin tingling under the weight of his gaze. Me? Marcus had feelings for me? I opened my mouth to speak, but no words came, my mind spinning with a whirlwind of emotions. Shock, confusion, and something deeper, something I hadn't let myself feel in years. I'd always found Marcus attractive, of course, those green eyes, that easy smile, but I'd never let myself entertain the thought of anything more. He was my neighbor, a friend, nothing else, or so I'd thought. "Marcus, My voice faltered, my fingers brushing against my lips as if to steady myself, the silk of my robe suddenly feeling too thin, too revealing under his intense stare. "I don't understand. I didn't think. We've always just been friends." His eyes never left mine, and I saw a flicker of pain there, mingled with a raw, burning desire that made my breath hitch. He leaned closer, the space between us shrinking, and I caught the faint scent of his cologne, sandalwood and something darker, intoxicating, mingling with the rain still clinging to his skin. "I know it's unexpected," he said, his voice a low murmur that seemed to wrap around me, pulling me in despite my resistance. "And I know it might seem strange, but I've been fighting this for so long, fighting the idea of even telling you. I didn't want to complicate things between us." He paused, his gaze dropping to my lips for a fleeting moment, and I felt a jolt of heat surge through me, my pulse racing as I imagined what he might be thinking. But the truth is, I can't keep pretending I don't feel this. I think I've been hiding it from myself for too long. My breath caught in my throat, the realization sinking in like a slow, burning ember. This wasn't just a confession, it was something raw, something real, something that had been simmering beneath the surface of our casual interactions for longer than I'd ever realized. I felt a mix of emotions swirling within me, surprise, fear, and a flicker of something else. Something I couldn't quite name, but that made my skin tingle and my heart race. Marcus's eyes were locked on mine, searching, pleading, and I could feel the heat of his presence, the way his body seemed to radiate a quiet, magnetic energy that drew me in. "I'm not asking for anything, Evelyn," he added quickly, his tone earnest, his hands unclenching as he reached out, his fingers hovering just inches from mine. "I don't want to cross any lines, I needed to say it out loud, to make it real, to see if maybe, just maybe, you could ever feel the same way." The tension between us was palpable, a living, breathing thing that seemed to pulse in the air, and for a long moment neither of us spoke. The silence stretched on, heavy and charged, and I could hear the faint patter of rain against the windows, the distant hum of the city below, but all I could focus on was the man sitting in front of me, his confession hanging between us like a fragile thread. I swallowed hard, my throat tight with emotion, my mind racing to process everything he'd just said. Could I feel the same way? I hadn't let myself think about Marcus like that, not consciously at least. But now, with his words echoing in my mind, I couldn't ignore the way my body was reacting, the way my pulse quickened when he looked at me, the way my skin flushed under his gaze, the way I suddenly noticed the sharp line of his jaw, the way his shirt clung to his chest, hinting at the strength beneath. There was something undeniable here, something I'd been too afraid to see until now. "Marcus, I don't know what to say," I admitted, my voice trembling, my fingers twisting the hem of my robe as I tried to steady myself. "I wasn't expecting this. I've always seen you as a friend, someone I could trust, But this is different. It feels overwhelming. I looked away, my gaze drifting to the rain-streaked window, the city lights blurring into a kaleidoscope of colors as I tried to gather my thoughts. I could feel his eyes on me, a quiet intensity that made my skin prickle, and I knew he was waiting, hoping for something, anything that would give him a glimpse into what I was feeling. "I know it's a lot to process," he said softly, his voice a soothing balm against the storm in my chest. "And I'm not asking for an answer right now. I just needed to be honest with you. No more pretending, no more hiding." He shifted slightly, his knee brushing against mine, the brief contact sending a spark through me, a heat that settled low in my belly. "I respect you, Evelyn. I respect our friendship. If nothing else, I want that to stay the same." His words were gentle, but they carried a weight that was impossible to ignore. I could see how much this confession had cost him, how much he'd been carrying inside, and I couldn't help but admire his courage, his vulnerability. But I wasn't ready to give him an answer. Not yet. I needed time to untangle the mess of emotions swirling inside me, time to understand what this all meant. "I don't want to lose our friendship, Marcus," I said after a pause, my voice firm but soft, my fingers brushing against my neck as I tried to steady my racing pulse. "I really don't, but I need time. Time to think this through, to figure out what I'm feeling. I can't give you an answer right now." He nodded, his gaze steady, though I could see a flicker of disappointment in his eyes, quickly masked by that same quiet understanding I'd always admired in him. "I get it," he said, his voice low, a quiet promise that sent a shiver down my spine. "I'm not going anywhere. I'll give you all the time you need. Just don't shut me out, okay? Don't let this ruin what we've built." His words were a plea, a gentle request that made my heart ache with a strange mix of gratitude and longing. I couldn't help but admire his calm demeanor, the way he accepted my uncertainty with grace, and it made me feel safe, like I could take my time without the pressure of making a hasty decision. "Thank you," I whispered, my voice thick with emotion, my heart swelling with appreciation for the man sitting in front of me. "I promise I won't shut you out." We sat in silence for a few moments, the weight of our conversation settling into the room like a heavy fog. There was a quiet understanding between us now, a shift in our relationship that neither of us could ignore. But even in the silence, I could feel that something had changed, something deep, something that would shape us in ways we couldn't yet understand. Eventually, Marcus stood, his movements slow and deliberate, the lamplight casting a soft glow over his features. "I should probably go," he said, his voice tinged with reluctance. "I didn't mean to keep you up this late." I stood as well, my mind still racing, my body hyper-aware of his presence, the way his shirt stretched across his shoulders, the way his eyes lingered on me for a moment longer than necessary. "Thanks for coming by," I said, forcing a smile despite the tangle of emotions inside me. "And for being honest with me." He smiled, a small but genuine smile that made my chest ache, and turned toward the door. "Anytime," he said, his voice warm, a quiet promise that lingered in the air. "Take care of yourself, all right? I'll be around if you need me." And just like that, he was gone, the door clicking shut behind him with a soft finality. I leaned against it, my thoughts spinning in 1,000 different directions, my body still humming with the heat of his presence, the memory of his words burning in my mind. What did this all mean? Was there something between us, or was this just a passing moment of vulnerability that we'd both move past? I didn't know, but one thing was certain. Things had changed, and no matter what came next, I had a feeling my life and my relationship with Marcus would never be the same again. The days that followed Marcus's visit felt like a strange limbo, as though I were walking a tightrope between the familiar and the unknown. Every encounter with him was laced with an undercurrent of something unspoken, a tension that simmered beneath the surface of our casual interactions. I found myself replaying our conversation in my mind over and over again, wondering if I'd made the right choice, wondering if I'd been too quick to ask for space, too quick to distance myself from him. But I couldn't ignore what he'd said, what he'd revealed. There had always been a quiet intensity in our friendship, something deeper than just neighborly pleasantries or casual chats. Maybe I'd always known it, but I hadn't wanted to see it for what it was. A week passed, and still, I found myself thinking about him more than I cared to admit. I noticed little things, the way his eyes softened when he looked at me, the way his smile lingered a moment longer than it used to, as though there was something he wanted to say but couldn't. And every time we crossed paths, in the hallway, by the mailboxes, in the elevator, I felt a flicker of that same tension we'd shared that night, the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air. But what did it all mean? I didn't have the answers, not yet, but I knew one thing for sure. I couldn't keep running from the truth. I couldn't keep pretending I didn't feel something more than just friendship. And so, after days of deliberation, I found myself standing in front of his door, my heart pounding, my hands clammy as I lifted my fist to knock. This was it, the moment of truth. The door swung open almost immediately, and there he was, looking every bit as surprised as I felt. Marcus's eyes widened, his expression unreadable for a moment before a small smile tugged at the corner of his lips. "Evelyn," he said, his voice warm but cautious, his gaze searching mine. "I didn't expect you. Is everything okay?" I nodded, but I could feel the words building up inside me, struggling to find their way out. "I've been thinking," I began, my voice a little shaky, my fingers twisting together as I tried to steady myself. "A lot, actually. About us. About what you said that night." Marcus didn't interrupt, just watched me with that same patient, understanding gaze, his silence giving me the courage to continue. "The truth is, Marcus," I said, stepping closer, my voice trembling with emotion, "I've been feeling something too, something I didn't know how to process at first. I didn't know if I should let myself feel it or if it was just a fleeting moment, but now I know. I don't want to deny it anymore. I don't want to push it aside because I'm scared of what it might mean, because I care about you more than I ever thought possible." His gaze softened, and I could see the relief in his eyes, like a weight had been lifted. He reached out, taking my hands gently in his touch warm and reassuring, his thumbs brushing lightly over my knuckles in a slow, deliberate motion that sent a shiver through me. "I'm glad you said that," he murmured, his voice a low, intimate whisper that made my heart race. "I've been hoping for this, but I never wanted to pressure you. I want to be with you, Evelyn, if you're ready for that. I want to see where this goes. No expectations, no rush, just us figuring things out together." Tears welled up in my eyes, though I didn't know why. It wasn't sadness, but rather the realization that I'd been holding my breath for so long, and now I could finally exhale. I wasn't alone in this. We were in it together. "I'm ready," I whispered, my voice thick with emotion, my fingers tightening around his. "I don't know what the future holds, but I'm willing to find out with you." And just like that, the tension that had been building between us melted away. There were no grand gestures, no over-the-top declarations, just two people standing in the quiet of the moment, choosing to be honest with each other, choosing to explore something new. The weight of the past few weeks, of the uncertainty, the fear, lifted in that simple exchange, in that quiet, intimate moment. I felt the beginnings of something new, something real. We stood there for a while, just holding hands, savoring the peace that had come with this newfound understanding. There was no need for words anymore. Everything we needed to say had already been spoken, and it was enough. As the evening settled in, we made our way to his couch, sitting close but not quite touching, just letting the closeness of our presence speak for itself. There was no rush, no pressure, just two people, slowly and carefully learning to navigate this new chapter of their lives together. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't easy, but it was real. And that was enough.